Now, you have some specific questions today
Yes.
about scheduling.
And I get a lot of questions from parents, whether they're card parents or other parents, and I wanted to take a couple of specific things because when you start an early intervention, as both Nancy and I know, it is, it's daunting,
Hmm.
and you don't know what to expect. It's hard on the kids, it's hard
Right.
on the family, it's hard on the house. It's just a full
Yeah, it
nothing.
sends your whole life upside down.
Yeah, and you don't know which way is up, and you don't really know who to listen to.
Hmm.
So. I've got a mom who's asking specifically about a very young child who's not yet 3,
Hmm.
but they've caught it early and they're so
Hmm.
excited and they're getting services, good quality ABA services. And their specialists, they got a prescription for 40 hours, which is
Okay.
what you want, right?
Right.
This is like, ooh, this is
Yeah, they've
everything
got
that we want.
everything.
But the reality of it is very daunting. So he's 2.5, he's been used to taking a nap, but they want in order to get the 40, they want to ramp him up to 35 this summer. And in order to get him to 35, the nap is really inconvenient, right? And when a child naps, insurance doesn't pay for napping,
Right.
So they can't really do that. So the mom either has to come to the center to be there or has to pay for babysitting because insurance isn't going to pay for therapy while a child is napping, right? But the truth is that they want to get the child sort of weaned off of the nap, have him sleep through the night so they can get as much done as possible. But this particular kiddo, just his hours are all upside down.
And this child is not sleeping through the night?
He's not sleeping through the night. He passes out when they put him in the car to leave the center. They can't get him woken back up. So he's ending up eating dinner at 9 o'clock. And then he's up for hours. Then he's exhausted in the morning, and he's even to the point where he's been so tired he's thrown up during ABA sessions. And mom is just beside herself, Vince. So help us to figure out what would be helpful for this mom, what would be helpful for this little boy, what would be helpful for the team, and dealing with all the emotions of this because it's really hard.
Right, and for sure, and for a 2.5-year-old, 3-year-old, naps are still developmentally appropriate. So we do need to look at what the child's developmental needs are. So the first thing that I would talk to, or with the supervisor and the parent together, is how do we structure in nap time? How can we do that logistically? Because like you said, with funding and times and things of that nature. And how can we do that so that it helps his sleep patterns at night? I have a suspicion, I could be wrong, but that we're trying to fit everything into a Monday, Friday, or a limited time schedule to where this child is just trying to get too much done in a short amount of time. So I would definitely want to talk with the family about where is our schedule? Are we doing 7 days a week? Are we doing 5 days a week? What can we do to spread it out so that we have more time for his developmental needs, like his naps and things like that, so that he's not completely just falling apart at the end of the nights, which then, as you said, is rolling over into the middle of the night where he's not going to bed until midnight or later, as well as then he wakes up sluggish and cranky, and I'm sure is not in the best position to go ahead and start treatment, the next morning. So I guess a long story short to the question is, I think naps at 2.5, 3-year-olds is developmentally appropriate. And I think there needs to be some scheduling done with the clinical team and the family to find out what's best for everyone.
I think that's absolutely right, Vince. And here's the thing, though, that I think is really hard is that when you come from a background where you don't understand ABA and you've never done ABA, the rational choice is, well, we'll just cut back the hours, right? Isn't that the go-to that we go to as parents? And then having to explain to mom, that's not the right thing in this circumstance. You're going to have to rearrange some other things and pull some strings other places. You don't want to lessen the hours. But it's hard because in the world of rational thought and before you came to autism, the right choice, and this is one of the reasons why I especially love you, Vince, is I've said many times on this show before that when I was having anxiety and issues because of ABA and some of the things that were going on, I went to an LMFT and she said to me, she goes, well, it sounds like that ABA thing you're doing is really the thing that's causing you stress. I would stop that. That was her advice to me.
Really?
That was really,
Yeah.
and I was like, what? That's not helpful to me at all. Because if you don't understand what ABA is going to do
Right.
and how it works,
Mm-hmm.
it is the rational choice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I guess, Vince, it's how do we help mom to understand that you're going to have to prioritize things in a different way and look at this with different eyes?
Right. And I think that some of that goes back to just understanding the success of treatment, right? ABA and, discrete trial training is all based on the predicate of repetition and exposure, right? So the more repetition, the more exposure do they have to the lessons and the learning methods that we're teaching them, the more success and skill building that the child's going to get. The less we do of that, the less they're going to learn, right? The time in which they're going to learn is going to take a lot longer than if they get the treatment that's being clinically recommended. And there's no doubt that there sometimes needs to be a workup to that hours. And I know you had mentioned that in the beginning, and it sounds like there is a plan to, slowly work up the hours to the 35. However, I think you're spot on in the fact that reducing the hours really is reducing the effectiveness of the treatment. It's reducing the effectiveness of the child's progress. And what we need to do is look at either the other treatments or other therapies, other commitments, other priorities that are going on, and how do we work with those so that we can continue to work the treatment at the clinically recommended hours, or at least work up to the treatment at the clinically recommended hours, but also making sure that the child's getting his developmental needs, which would be naps and sleep
Yes.
and
Yeah.
snacks.
It also sounds to me like this family needs to put into place some sort of plan to get their child to bed earlier.
Well, but what's happening is that
He sleeps
now
too late.
they leave the center at
Right.
5 o'clock,
Right.
and they have a half an hour drive to get home.
Okay.
And he falls asleep in the car,
Right.
which I can really massively relate to. I couldn't go anywhere at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because Jem would just go to sleep, and I could hold him upside down and shake him by his feet, and he wouldn't have woken up. There's no way he would wake up because they're tired at that point.
Right.
So she comes home and she can't get him to wake back up
Okay.
to eat dinner, and then he wakes up to eat dinner at 9, and then they're all kerfooeyed.
Right.
And she feels, and I think understandably, she feels like she's behind the 8 ball, and all these people are saying different things to her, and she's like, I just don't want my child to be throwing up.
Right.
I just want my child to not be throwing up, which I agree is important. The child has to get sleep, and the child can't be throwing up. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, stop doing
Stop
ABA.
doing it.